about 23 because this is continuations of Farrakhan's speech, The Conspiracy of International Bankers. And we're talking about pinky ring power moves from the wealthy.
Yeah. Rejected the moral standard, but accepted the wisdom and became not the synagogue of the righteous, but partakers and members of the synagogue of Satan. Now let's see what I'm talking about. Come on. You will never after tonight open your mouth to call me an anti-Semite because I'm going to give you a definition of that term. In Europe,
Here it comes.
a man by the name of Rothschild who claimed to be Jewish made this statement. He really didn't care who was king or ruler as long as he controlled the finance. Rothschild had 5 sons, and he sent those sons into different parts of Europe. Yes, sir. Yes. He sent one son to England, one to France, one to Italy, one to Austria, and one stayed at home with the father in Germany. Yes, sir. And they all became a part of the house of Rothschild, but through manipulation of money, the son in England grew up and that became the Bank of England, the Bank of France, the Bank of Italy, the Bank of Austria, the Bank of Germany. These were central banks that printed the money of these nations that now were in the hands of a family that had spread out with not the intention of doing good, but the intention to become manipulators and controllers of the destiny of the world and nations. Come on. Go ahead. Europe had many conflicts. And the Rothschilds would finance both sides. That's right. What you don't understand is that war is a manipulation of money. That's right. You think you're fighting for democracy. A war to end all wars. Let peace reign in the earth. This is the tricky language that the wise and wicked use to trap the poor and the weak. Are you listening? Come on. The house of Rothschild became so strong that even when America was established, they kept through their agents in America trying to control central bank. It hurt to read of the Civil War. People in the South didn't want nobody freeing the slave. That's right. I was not evil when I said that 75% of Jews own slaves. I didn't say it. You all wrote it in your history. Now wait. If you own slaves, future, but they're enriched at the price of your blood and the blood of your children and the blood of your children's children. See, brothers and sisters, look,
This is your question.
there are many people in the country that know this. Come on. Yes, sir. But they don't have the voice of the poor. What makes it so dangerous for me to know it and even say it is because I have the voice and the ear of poor people. And once you know the truth, it's very difficult for you to go back into your sleep. So naturally, to say these things, it puts the spokesperson at great risk. Because America has been built on your backs. And if any truth comes to remove you, that's like somebody creating an earthquake. You see a beautiful building, but when the earth under it shakes, the walls come down, the ceilings come down. So that's why you have never been allowed a leader that could stay with you to speak to the masses of black people. Every time you had a leader that could speak to the masses, he was cut down. And he's cut down because the country is built on the backs of poor white, poor black, poor Jews.
2021.
That's right. Come on.
Some places went double
Brothers and sisters,
in rents. 30-day notices. I have seen whole apartment complexes where senior citizens and disabled people had to move because they doubled it on a 30-day thing. That kind of oppression. To think, well, I'm going to get double instead of serving people and being grateful. One lady was there 40 years. How much of that, if she would have been allowed to have some kind of ownership, that would have been fair. But to double her rent and reward her in the midst of a worldwide pandemic with this Delta virus resurfacing, people dying. See, he was a senior citizen. You got to get out. Gave me $1,200 versus the $6. That kind of bottom line, crab, scumbag thinking crawling out of a barrel. Well, we put wood, which paper comes from trees, before human beings. You could say that's the mark of the beast because you can't think but anything but flesh. How can I get more toys? How can I get more stuff? And if it take wars, if it take me putting people doubling their rent down with a 30-day notice, if it take raising prices of food or gas, however I get my money. See, when the individual becomes a parasite to the collective, thinking about nothing but themselves, and this is what we have become as a world, because of collective groups not being like the tree, giving back life to those, to empower those weak and people that are trying to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. The truth is, we're not in it together. The truth is, there is spiritual warfare in the area of finance. And the truth is, if you belong to a church or a collective group or family of any kind, you have to bring your resources together and make proper investments. Putting in the bucket and telling people pay your tithes for you church people, that's not going to cut it. I know plenty of tithers don't own a house, relatives. And the fact of the matter, everyone didn't get a house. Pastor's house almost paid for them. All them kind of systems. And we skip over Deuteronomy 14, 15, Deuteronomy 26, and 2 Corinthians 8, 9, and Malachi 3, 10, and 11 in its context, all tithes, even for those having necessities. If you don't have a plan and you're just talking, you're a dead dinosaur. Because the coming inflation, because of the rising of prices, stealing from housing to food to necessities. And there is no Joseph or none that grieve for the affliction of brothers being sold out in debt to slavery, like Joseph. Real men of God will be like Joseph and use resources like Solomon to sustain their people. That would be the test over the next 10 years, starting in 2021. It already began, because in COV-19, if you didn't ask people, and you're a leader of any kind, what can I do for you? And you were in a position to do it. While the banks manipulate the money that the people's money are sitting in, some of that money could have stopped a lot of things, helped a lot of people to move them forward in a faith extension. Now, we all want to cop out on, well, that's a socialist gospel. We cop out on Malachi 3:10 and 11. And I'm speaking to churches now. We cop out. But these strong-armed, pinky ring of financial Goliath giants intend to destroy and crush the needy. And we trumpet victory, but when I look at Joshua 1, I see they all had to help each other. Coming out of Egypt, God brought them out and didn't leave not one back. Debt free. Okay, then they started the tithing system. So when we look at the present systems, even among our collective groups in entertainment, people are in it for themselves. What's God's plan? I think Drake wrote the lyrics well. He didn't want any trouble, but the proceeds of what he did in that album went right back to help the people in the necessity. It's going to take acts like that to execute God's plan. That is, as it is argued in 2 Corinthians 8, my abundance was for your lack. Not that I be burdened, but that there be equality, at least in care in our hearts for our fellow friends, brother and family, etc. So we'll go back to the tape. The manipulation of money is in all kinds of different areas and different levels, and exploitation of the poor.
In 1912, on December the 22nd,
Listen up.
the Central Bank of America was taken over by certain families. The Federal Reserve that prints the money is not owned by the government. That's right. Inside the government, betrayal went down. And under the presidency of Woodrow Wilson, who was elected in 1912, the Federal Reserve System was established. In 1913. He came in 12. Federal Reserve became an act of law in 1913. And in the same year, 1913, IRS was established. FBI was established. And the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith was established. And it's not an accident that these four entities were set up in the same year, and I'll tell you why. But ain't no use in you getting frightened, because I'm doing the talking. So all you can say is, I happen to be there. Lord, I'm sorry I went. But after you know the truth, it's on you. Now, all of this is not revelation. You can find this in your libraries. I want you college students to go and study this, because all your knowledge of economics and finance is worthless if you don't Wilson was elected, the debt of America was about $1 billion. When Woodrow Wilson left office in 1920, the debt had risen 800 times what it was when he came into office. How did that happen? Now you say, well, how does this impact on you in 1995? Can you hold on a few more minutes? Look, brothers and sisters, in 1912, Woodrow Wilson was elected. 1913, IRS is established. Why was the Internal Revenue established? Because those who took control of the money knew that they were going to increase the debt of the country. And they had to have a way to recoup the debt. So the revenue was supposed to be a graduated income tax. This is the way it was put before Congress. Which, by the way, a graduated income tax is the second plank in the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. And when you hear the Republicans talking about taking back government and giving it back to the people, it's because the government was moving the country on a socialist trend. Oh, man. This thing is deep. Yes, sir. Look. Woodrow Wilson comes in, and he's going to keep America out of the war. The war started in 1914. Is that right? Yes, sir. Woodrow Wilson's second term is in 1916. Come on. He's keeping America out of the war. This is the way they talk when it's time to get elected. But the big boys behind the door, they knew that the only way to increase the debt was to somehow get America involved in the war that was raging in 1914. So through the manipulation of an incident with a ship called the Lusitania, America declared war on Germany. And in 1917, the American soldiers went to war in Europe. And in order to fight the war, America had to borrow money. That's right. Yes, sir. saying? Now, World War I is gone.
War production.
Follow me? Yes, sir. Now, here we are. Hitler rises. Here we go. Hitler's trying to get back what was taken from him and the Kaiser and Germany after World War I. Hitler starts moving in Europe. Ain't nobody saying nothing. Come on, right? Where are you going, Hitler? Hitler sees himself as some kind of messiah. Come on. And guess who financed him? See, this is what they don't want to talk about. But Warburg and Rothschild, these are Jews. And some in America financed Hitler. Come on. Warburg, a Jew, can travel in Europe at the height of the war, sleep in fine hotels, while Jews are being burned in ovens. Now, will a real anti-Semite stand up?
War production, war factories. Go on YouTube. Look at how Russia built their war factories. And
look,
you'll
this
see
is
it.
known in certain circles. Many young Jews don't know nothing about this. They're made to see Farrakhan as the enemy. Farrakhan is not your enemy. Your people are using me to get money from you. I'm going to expose them all tonight.
We finance war. That buyer beware, because we already in debt. We already got homelessness. We already got inflation. Do we need another war?
They say the FBI
Mark the next one that come
to
up.
catch criminals.
They try to stop.
Well, that's true. But the FBI is a criminal organization. Farrakhan, how could you say a thing like that? It didn't stay no Springfield. It's the best place to say things like this. It stayed on Springfield. The FBI has been a criminal organization. They don't care nothing about law. They break the law to get at every black leader or white leader.
Jeremiah 20.
talking about Coney Queen.